It's noon here in sunny, chilly Ventnor, New Jersey, and loud Bethesda, Maryland. And this is, well, news that you can use from CarEdge with your hosts, Ray and Zach. How are you this lovely afternoon, Mr. Zach?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, I'm pretty good. How are you doing?
Phew, buddy, the good news is that at the apartment next to mine, they're ripping up the marble floor so they can put in hardwood floors. But it sounds as if they're actually just working in my apartment. I did ask them to take a break during the show. Otherwise, you would just be hearing hammering and sweeping, and it's just like they're right there. They're right there.
Let's kick things off. That lead story is General Motors. They got a big issue, Pops. They got a couple issues. We're going to dig into it. They had their quarterly earnings come out yesterday. So one of the things, Dad, that I found interesting,
Yes,
you know me, I always go straight to the slides, straight to
you
the source.
you love
ICE,
slides.
ICE launches, gross sales, share, and business performance. So here we
Yeah,
go, Dad. They break out their business, obviously, between internal combustion engine and electric vehicles, but they also break it out to add trucks and non-trucks. All
yes.
right. So here we go. We've got the refreshed truck portfolio. HD pickups. Top trim levels comprise 52% of orders for the Chevy Silverado and 30% for the GMC Sierra. How
Wow.
can you and I get on them about only making the expensive stuff when half of the orders, half of the sales for the Silverado are the top trim level? Midsize pickups, Chevrolet's top level and off-road models represent 60% of orders, while 75% of GMC orders are for AT4 and Denali, the top trim levels. We're going to talk about the problem that they have with this in a moment here, but holy cow, Dad, are we just in the wrong? Look at those numbers. Top trim levels, that's what people, $100,000 pickup trucks. So are we wrong?
No. No, we're not. We're not. I mean, we're not. We're wrong if we think that they want to appeal to the masses. We're wrong if we think that. It's it's obvious that they've made a business decision, and that business decision is that they're gonna play in a smaller sandbox to the better, well-heeled customers who like expensive top trim level pickup trucks, that they're not really using the pickup trucks as pickup trucks but as luxury vehicles.
Yep.
And with a somewhat shrinking market with higher interest rates, um they've just decided that the hell with the rest of us. I said this once before. It needs to be Festivus for the rest of us. But they don't care about the rest of us, and neither does Ford, neither does Ram.
That's where you're wrong, Pops. That's where you're wrong, but you're actually
Please.
right, and we're going to prove that you're right.
Yeah.
So then the other side of the slide, right? New affordable SUVs.
Yeah.
Many brands scaled back on affordable vehicles. Chevrolet and Buick are moving in with new SUVs. Estimate more than 1 million US sales for vehicles starting at $30,000 and below in 2023 to 2024. The number would be higher if there are more options.
Sure.
The new Chevy Trax is launching at $21,495. That's good news. That is
Yes.
great news for people who want affordable transportation. Why am I then coming on the show, Dad, and saying Chevy's in a bit or GM's in a bit of trouble? Would be if you go, Dad, to our car search. Let's do it
Yes.
live right now. And let's
Yes.
type in Trax. And let's look at just new Trax. There are 17 of them for sale within 100 miles of where I currently am. All right. 17 of them.
Wow.
Let's look into one so we can see some of the data points here. The days supply, there's a 15 days supply. Okay. 64 of them have sold in the last 45 days, 22 total for sale. This does 200 miles. So there's 22 within 200 miles. All right.
Wow.
Now look at this, Pops. Look at this. Let's do this really quickly. Let's do 1500. Silverado 1500. And let's do new. There's 2,474.
Yeah.
2,574.
And
There's
this was
100 times more.
And this is in the Washington D.C. area.
Yes.
Okay, where you know, I don't think trucks are as popular in the DC area as say in Texas.
In the
Um
Texas area, let's
in the
do one in
Texas in the
Texas.
area of Texas and Oklahoma and New Mexico. Um I you know, it's just there's a million vehicles that could be sold in the $30,000 and lower price point, and they'll barely between all the manufacturers out there make a million of them to actually sell them. That number maybe could be 2 million if
There's
they
32 tracks, Dad. There's 32 tracks in Austin, Texas right now.
okay
32 new ones.
okay
And
well,
GM has the audacity to have
yes
that as a line item here. That is such BS, man. They've got 32 of them. 3 2. 3 2. And then when you flip it back over to Silverado 1500s, they've got 3,000. Come on.
what are you complaining about? There's apparently there's barely 32 people in the Austin area that would want a tracks.
So this is where I feel like maybe we're wrong. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe automakers are doing the exact right thing. What they're doing is they're building big, expensive, top trim level trucks. And you know what? Supposedly people are buying them. But then again, one thing we didn't do right there? Go for
Yeah,
it,
go
Pops.
look at the day supply of
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Let's go do that really quickly. Let's do this for the Chevy Trax. So this Trax, what's the day's supply in Austin, Texas for a Chevy Trax? 11. An 11-day supply. Holy
Sugar.
No wonder
Yeah.
dealers may end up putting ADMs on these things.
Yes.
They've got an 11 days supply.
Yes.
This one's been sitting for 75 days, so you actually probably have a good chance to negotiate it. Now let's do the 1500. Do new. 2,474. Come on, man.
Well, apparently you are not familiar with the statute in Texas that says you must drive a pickup truck under penalty of death if you do not.
We're not wrong, Dad. We're not wrong. You can't look at this data and not piece together the story. There's 799 Silverado 1500s for sale in Austin right now.
Yeah,
Only
138 day supply, just a mere 138 day supply. Yeah.
And then you go back to the tracks. Let's do
Yeah.
this. Let's do this. Then you go back to the
supply.
tracks.
Yeah, 9-day supply.
11 days supply.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
But there's no money in the tracks.
Boom.
Okay.
Boom. I think you're spot on.
Yeah, there's no money in it. There's no money in it for General Motors, and there's no money in it for the dealer. And then so General Motors doesn't make a lot of them. Dealers don't want to stock them, and the money is in the pickup trucks. And I don't know an average person that can afford a $50,000 pickup truck. But then again, apparently I don't know average people. I apparently I must know below average people because the people I know couldn't afford to spend $50,000 on a vehicle.
Take a peek at this, Pops. Average transaction prices over at General Motors. The line I want you to really focus in on, GMC. That's the blue line right there, Dad. I know we're not math folks here, but that slope.
Yeah.
Q1 2018, $47,000 average transaction price.
Yeah.
Q1 2023, let me get the exact amount. $62,678.
It's gone up a little bit. Who buy? Every time we do this, I say the same thing. Who buys these things? But apparently, I shouldn't be so incredulous when I say that, because apparently there's plenty of people buying these things. Now, how? I have no idea.
Question.
Yes.
We talk about it all the time on this show. This is one of the first things you taught me about this industry.
Yeah.
The OEM, the automaker, and the dealer are partners. They're not actually partners.
No,
They're
they're not at all.
partners.
Yeah.
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 Okay. The OEM makes money wholesaling vehicles to the dealer. The dealer makes money when they sell them to consumers, and they sell financing, warranties, all that fun stuff. Are they actually, is this model actually working, Dad? Can they actually get enough demand for these expensive trucks? Because, and the reason I say this, because we're looking at the day's supply of inventory, and
Yes.
sure, GM's earnings just came out and profit was up and things are all hunky-dory. But are they all going well at GM because they wholesaled them all to the dealers, and now the dealers are stuck holding the bag? Again, the market day supply was 138 days, Dad. If you're a dealership sitting on that many Silverado 1500s, you're going to be incurring floor plan costs. You're going to have to lower the prices, right? Like
Well,
maybe
yes.
maybe once we get like some more dealership earnings, that'll actually show the full perspective here of what's going on.
Well, I think what will happen, I haven't read anything or seen anything that indicates that April's a really good car month so far.
No.
Haven't seen anything yet that would suggest, April's just going gangbusters.
Yeah.
And my suspicion is that April sales will probably be somewhat flat. Okay. And if there's any increases year over year, it will be because of fleet sales, not because of retail sales, once
Definitely.
again. So, as I mentioned to Justin today, when he asked what my take is on the upcoming market, and the headline under my name today, patience, grasshopper, patience. Okay. I think if April doesn't turn out to be a particularly good month, and I don't think it will be, then perhaps in May you will start seeing more sizable customer incentives along with subvented interest rates where they can be combined together, along with the motivation of dealerships because of the rising floor plan costs to discount the prices of the vehicles, plus end up giving the customers the incentives, so that with a little patience, hopefully, when it comes to pickup trucks, certainly not all vehicles, but when it comes to these pickup trucks, if you're in the market for one of those, I would think starting next week, when new incentives come out, that the incentives will be much better and that the motivation will be much stronger on behalf of the dealerships to rid themselves of these costly vehicles. If the average transaction price is $62,000, let's say the average wholesale cost is $55,000, and if you're sitting on 100 of those, that's a lot of money. Okay, and that's a lot of floor plan interest that you're going to have to pay on those vehicles. So that there should be more motivation from dealerships, and trust me, as inventory builds, the comments from dealer managers and dealer principals to their manufacturer partners, their factory partners, is we need incentives. We need help moving these units. And if there's 138-day supply in Austin, that's screaming for incentives.
So much that we could go into here. I just want to pull this comment up from Clayton. When do I buy? Here's the deal. We get the videos that we do trying to time the market end up giving us the most headache, the most slack.
Sure.
You're going to see some of those over the next couple of weeks from us, because it seems like what you just said, Dad, is exactly what's going on. If you don't need to buy a car today, don't buy it today. Wait a couple more weeks. See what the incentives are going to be in May. And then, you know what? If you don't need to buy in May, wait until June. The indicators are right in front of us that for certain vehicles, not for a Chevy Trax, because there's an 11-day supply in Austin, Texas for a Chevy Trax, but for a full-size pickup truck, for a full-size SUV, for vehicles that have a growing day's supply, just be patient. Prices are going to have to come down, because you're spot on, Dad. This is my point about GM's earnings looking great, but maybe Penske's not looking as good, or Lithia's not looking as good, or AutoNation's not looking as good. They're going to be putting pressure back on the OEMs to do what they used to do, which was increase incentives, which I gotta mention this, Dad. Incentives over at GM were actually up quarter over quarter. So if I pull back up the data here from Cox Automotive, GM's incentive spending of $1,908 per vehicle was down from last year, but up from last quarter. So they're already starting to do it, Dad.
Yes.
Last quarter was $1,337 per vehicle. Look at that, folks. $1,337 per vehicle. This quarter, it was $1,908 in the first quarter. Things have slowed down significantly since the first quarter.
And 3 years ago, those incentives would have been $4,000, $5,000. So that even at $1,900, it is so far below what the incentive spend used to be that it seems like a veritable bargain to General Motors. So if in May that spend has to go up to $2,500 a vehicle or $3,000 a vehicle, it's still below what their traditional incentive spend was. But it bodes well for customers because the net cost of the vehicle between discounts from the dealership and the incentives from the manufacturers should mean that the net cost to the customer is lower than what it has been. Now, the unfortunate reality is that with higher interest rates, those 85% of the public that actually finance their vehicles, even though prices will be down, the payments will still be higher than what they've been used to in the past because interest rates have gone up so much. And the only way banks and everybody seems to know how to mitigate that is to continually extend the loan length to make the payment cheaper.
You want to see something that'll probably shock you, and then we got to go to the chat here, Pops. This is the latest weekly auto market update from Cox Automotive. And what you're looking at, folks, are auto loan rates, APRs. The green line is showing you used vehicles. The red line is showing you new vehicles, auto loans. The purple line is the Fed funds rate, and the blue line would be what you get on a 10-year T-bill, your yield on a 10-year T-bill. I'm going to zoom in, Pops. First, we'll read the text up at the top. Auto loan rates have declined in April, with average new vehicle APRs at 8.89% and average used vehicle APRs down to 13.55. We are seeing, Dad. Yeah, down to. Yep. But we are seeing already, Pops, pressure on interest rates, which means a compressed profit margin for the financial institution.
Oh, yes.
They're making less money, obviously, if interest rates are coming down while the Fed funds rate is going up. Look at that, though. What does that tell you? That tells you, I'm interpreting this to say this is corroborating what we've been saying for a long time, which is increasing car prices plus increasing interest rates doesn't equal cars getting sold. So we're seeing prices of cars come back down and interest rates not materially come down, but not trending up anymore. They're coming down a little bit to try and get metal moved. Like, that is what this says to me.
Well, yeah, and whether or not it's going to be enough to move as much metal as they'd like, I don't know. I've been saying for close to a year now that the new car market is contracting, that there are fewer and fewer people in it, that those that bless you, that those who might consider themselves in the market is a much smaller group of people than what it had been 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So as the market compresses, it impacts everything that goes on. You have fewer people that you can sell these cars to. It's just that simple. We talk about, how's the average person afford a $50,000 truck or a $60,000 truck? Well, what about the average person that's making $10 an hour or $15 an hour, and you live in Austin and you have 32 new Chevy Trax that you might be able to consider, 32, and even that as a $22,000 car. might not be affordable at the interest rates today for somebody making $15 an hour. I'm sure they're probably not. So those people are going, well, where's my $10,000 car or my $7,500 car? Where am I going to be able to find those? And so there's a whole segment of society that is absolutely positively being left behind when it comes to the purchase of new and even quality pre-owned cars because the prices are just too damn high.
Yeah, completely agree. And this is going to make mainstream news eventually.
Yeah.
And when it does, it'll be after. Exactly. It'll be
Yeah.
after the fact.
Yeah.
Pops, let's go here to
there's a revolution. I need wheels. When do I need them? I need them now. Whatever it will be, but yeah.
Yeah, you can just sense that will inevitably happen. Pops, let's go here to the chat for a quick minute. We had Mark, a longtime supporter of Ray and Zach channel, CarEdge. Appreciate it, Mark. Welcome back, Ray and Zach. Your team did a great job last week. We agree with that. Really proud of the team. Thank you, Justice, for leading those efforts. I suggested last week they use these funds to set up a GoFundMe account for use for the criminalistic dock fees being charged. Oh, man. We did our video, Pops, just the other day, the worst states to buy a car. Florida, obviously, leading the way there with their egregious dock fees.
Just crazy. But the problem is that they get it, that the customers ultimately give in and agree to it. And it's not the customer's fault per se, but not every customer can go somewhere else to go buy a car, but at a certain point, as in Moss, customers just have to say no, I'm done with it. And you could appeal to your state government to help you, but from what I've seen, that ain't happening. So
yeah,
the way to stop the $1,299 dock fee, $1,199 dock fee is to say, I'm just not buying a car here. I won't buy a car from you.
Well, and you also need to, and then we're going to go back to the chat. We had another thoughtful contribution come in. You also need to go to CarEdge.com. You guys missed me. I was gone for a week, but the promos are coming fast and furious. You go under resources and you go to dealer reviews. I haven't looked recently, Dad. Let's see. Over 2,867 that have been submitted all time. How many since April? 382 reviews in here, Pops.
Wow.
You got to come in here and you got to submit your dealer review. It's broken down by make. So Kia, Mazda, etc. New versus used. You can get information about. Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with where you ultimately bought your car or if you bought a car. It has everything to do with the experience at the places where you did not buy a car and why you did not buy a car at those other dealerships that you might have visited. So it's not just where you bought the car.
100%. All right, Pops, we had this comment come through from Ranger 117. Thank you.
Yeah.
Will SUV prices go down, such as Jeep Grand Cherokee or Cherokee? Chances with a FICO of 755, 731, 704. I'll let you touch on the credit scores in a second here, Pops. I just want to pull up something for you. We're still in Austin, Texas for this data that I'm about to pull up on the screen. You're not going to believe this. So when you use CarEdge, the days supply information is by trim level. Okay, folks?
Okay.
In Austin, there are 78 2023 Jeep Grand Cherokee Overlands for sale, but only 4 have sold in the last 45 days. It's not like that for all the trim levels, but just for the Overland, Dad, there is a ridiculous and unsustainable days supply. It obviously looks a little bit more realistic for like the altitude. For example, there's a 114-day supply. So back to Ranger 117's question, prices are going to go down on those.
Yes.
They have to.
Yes. I'm telling you, patience. I especially on a lot of the Jeep product, I think, and the more expensive Jeep product, you are going to see incentives really come into play beginning again next month. I mean, the Stellantis brands have notoriously had the highest incentive spend of all the major manufacturers. And I wouldn't be surprised if their incentive spend goes up significantly starting in May. I don't. It's not like I have any inside information that that's going to happen, but what I have is 40 some years of experience that says, when what I'm going to say it, and I know I shouldn't. When the shit ain't selling, you put a refund on it, you put a rebate on it, you put an incentive on it to encourage people to buy the things they know they don't want or they don't need, but suddenly the price seems good that they say, well, I can't live without it. And that's what it's going to take. I remember during the Great Recession, as we were entering the recession, and my Acura rep said to me, he said, what do you think we need to do in order to move units? And my response was really quick. It was, you need to make the deal so ridiculously good that people go, even in a recession, I can't say no to this. Okay. And that's what you have to do. And so as the Jeep product starts to build up again, as the Ram pickup trucks in certain parts of the country start to build up again, and we know today in many areas you can get upwards of 15-18% off on a Ram pickup truck. So you can sense that it's coming back to the deals are going to have to be so ridiculously good to get people to come in and buy that $90,000 Grand Cherokee or that $110,000 Grand Cherokee, that suddenly you might be able to get 20% off on that. It's just, that's what's going to happen. And that's what history suggests will happen. Now, I've been wrong. But I think the longer we go, and yes, I'll probably end up having to buy several people a steak dinner. I think the longer we go with patience, we will be rewarded with some cheaper pricing in the not too distant future.
Completely agree, Pops. Let's go back. Ranger 117, another very thoughtful contribution. To be very clear to everyone, we're going to help Ranger 117 here in just a moment. You do not need to donate to get help from us or from the CarEdge team. If you go to CarEdge.com, you can sign up for the CarEdge data plan, CarEdge coach plan, or even put your name on the wait list for the concierge.
I think we're even running a promotion.
We are running a promotion, ends at the end of the month. Yep.
Yeah.
So you can get a lot of help, and even on the community forum, which is entirely free. So just please know that we appreciate contributions. It's humbling every time it happens. You can get way more structured and honestly, quite frankly, better help from our team if you go back to CarEdge.com. Pre-owned 2019 to 2022 Jeep in Maryland, Jones or Heritage, or go to Virginia. You used to sell cars in Maryland, Pops. Would you lose customers to Virginia? If I'm not mistaken, Virginia has even more egregious fee culture than Maryland, but Maryland's dock fee is now $500. So.
Yeah, well, Virginia has a slightly higher dock fee and slightly lower standards for passing state safety inspections, so that when you're talking about pre-owned cars, you want to make sure it's going to pass Maryland state inspection, not Virginia state inspection, because the Maryland state inspection is a bit more stringent than the Virginia state inspection. So it just depends. And if you're going to register the vehicle in Maryland and buy it in Virginia, you're going to end up paying Maryland taxes and Maryland registration fees, and it's going to have to pass Maryland's state inspection. As far as whether it should be the Heritage organization or the Jones organization, I don't want to necessarily comment, but I will share a story with you from when I was at our mini dealership, and one of my salespeople was looking at a pre-owned car at Jones Junction, which is a big organization, the Jones organization in the Baltimore area. And he came back to me. He said, "So they advertised the used car at X, and then they charge a $1,995 reconditioning fee." And I go, "Well, I've heard of BS, but that's really BS. I said, because the reconditioning of the vehicle, the cost of that is typically factored into the asking price, because the asking price is typically based on X amount of dollars over what you own the car for. So I said, I've never heard of nonsense like that in my life, and I wouldn't do business with anybody that would do something like that.
Yeah.
So I don't want to, I've never done business there. I just know that they were doing that 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. Don't know if they still are, but that is a miserable, underhanded way to try and do business, to advertise a low price and then try and charge you a reconditioning fee on their pre-owned cars. That's just pure unadulterated BS.
It absolutely is. All right, Pops, let's call it a show. You've got a follow-on show over on
Yes.
CarEdge Electric with Justice. Go enjoy that. I'm going to go get some lunch and get back to work. Thank you, everyone, for being here, being a part of the show today. Dad, I look forward to seeing you maybe on
Friday?
Thursday. I'm going to be maybe on Thursday with Brandon. I don't know. I'm going to be down with Brandon at Car Questions Answered on Thursday. Tomorrow, I'm actually meeting with Car Dealership Guy, if you guys are familiar with his Twitter account. So I don't know. I'll see you sometime, Pops, but you'll have a great week, I'm sure.
Yeah. Have you come up with any co-hosts for me on Wednesday and Thursday? Or
I thought you would follow Justice's lead from last week and just just do a solo show.
No.
Hey, I love you. Go have fun. We'll figure it out, man.
Okie doke. I love you too. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And at least one of us will be back here tomorrow at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific, 8 Alaska time, 6 a.m. Hawaii time. For those of you who are interested in seeing us again with more news that you can use from CarEdge. Thanks so much, everybody.